It seems like every day I'm updating you on the legal troubles of Donald Trump, and I have more on that for you today. This is wild. It has to do with the documents investigation. Of course, Jack Smith leading the federal investigation into Trump's mishandling of classified documents, and what is becoming more and more present and more obviously backed up by evidence is the fact that obstruction took place or seemed to take place when it comes to Trump purposefully keeping the documents away from federal authorities, even though he knew that they wanted them and were asking for them. And he likely had his lawyers lie to federal authorities about the documents that he had. And now I have for you this from the Washington Post. And by the way, I really do think he's going to end up being charged pretty soon in this case. Two of Donald Trump's employees moved boxes of papers the day before an early June visit by FBI agents and a prosecutor to the former president's Florida home to retrieve classified documents in response to a subpoena. Timing that investigators have come to view as suspicious and an indication of possible obstruction, according to people familiar with the matter. Trump and his aides also allegedly carried out a dress rehearsal. What? For moving sensitive papers even before his office received the May 2022 subpoena, according to people familiar with the matter who spoke on the condition of anonymity to describe a sensitive ongoing investigation. Prosecutors, in addition, have gathered evidence indicating that Trump at times kept classified documents in his office in a place where they were visible and sometimes showed them to others, these people said, which is such a bizarre and shocking part of that. But also the most Trumpian thing you could possibly imagine is showing classified documents to people to impress them or something like that. But before we discuss these details any further, here's this also being reported on by ABC News.
Two of former President Donald Trump's employees moved boxes and papers from a storage room inside Trump's Mar-a-Lago home just one day before FBI agents visited the property last June, according to the Washington Post. The move coming after Trump's team received a subpoena from the Justice Department for classified documents. ABC News previously reported that investigators suspect those boxes contained classified material based on witness statements, security camera footage, and other documentary evidence, according to sources familiar with the investigation. The timing of the moving of the box.
So after Trump received a subpoena, he knew they were going to come to retrieve these documents. It seems that he then instructed his team to move the classified documents around, and they had conducted dress rehearsals as to how they would go about practicing, how they would go about moving that material in a situation like this, preparing for a situation just like the one that ended up playing out, so that they could, I guess, put the documents in a place they felt would be less likely to be found. Really wild. And increasingly, we're getting a clearer and clearer picture as to just how much Trump didn't want these classified documents to be accessed, didn't want them to be taken back by federal authorities. And the question has to be asked then, why? What was so important about these classified documents? Why did he want to keep them? And what did he plan to do with them? It couldn't have just been to show them to people to impress them like that one bit of the article noted. And so there are a lot of questions about the motive, I guess you would call it here, that is definitely something fascinating to think about. Now, I want to show you a bit from the CNN town hall that happened previously that we've talked about that really sums up how in the wrong or how kind of caught red-handed Trump feels here, because his response now, his defense, at least publicly, is no longer anything that argues really against the evidence against him, or says that, no, he didn't actually do the things he's being alleged to have done. It's just, yeah, I did all of that. I took all of that. Absolutely. And it's okay. It's not arguing that he did the things he's being accused of or being investigated for. It's him just saying, yeah, I know you think that's against the law, but it's not. I can do whatever I want. You remember this?
Why did you take those documents with you when you left the White House?
I had every right to under the Presidential Records Act. You have the Presidential Records Act. I was there and I took what I took, and it gets declassified. Biden, on the other hand, he has 1,850 boxes. He had boxes sent to Chinatown, where they don't speak even English in that Chinatown we're talking about.
I got to stop you right there.
Nobody talks about him. They talk about us. Just so you understand, I had every right to do it. I didn't make a secret of it. You know, the boxes were stationed outside of the White House. People were taking pictures of the GSA of the various people.
I got to stop you right there, though, because the Presidential Records Act, which is not well known to a lot of people, I read it. It does not say that you can take documents with you. It says...
And he'll just, no, you're wrong. And he is absolutely misinterpreting or miscommunicating the facts of the law there. But if he wants to go in a hypothetical trial, if he ends up being charged and we get there and just argue that, heck yeah, all the things I'm being accused of, I did it, but it's because I was allowed to. I don't think historically that's a good strategy, but he can try it. He can absolutely give it a shot. And importantly, it's not just about him taking the documents, it's the obstruction, and that's what this particular news has to do with. And that is what makes this case so significant, that he knew he shouldn't have the documents, because otherwise, what was he doing all this fishy stuff with the documents for? Why was he having his team move around the documents right before agents were coming to get them? Why was he lying to federal authorities, it appears, about which documents, or about the fact that he had more documents? Because he was obstructing the investigation, trying to keep them, even though he knew he wasn't supposed to have them. And it's really wild that we could be very close. It seems, based on what's coming out of the Jack Smith investigation right now, that the investigation is wrapping up, and we could be very close to a second round, or even if the Georgia case comes first, a third round of indictments. Really quite the moment. Now, I want to remind you that Trump used to have a very serious stance on classified material. This was from the 2016 campaign.
In my administration, I'm going to enforce all laws concerning the protection of classified information. No one will be above the law.
And now, very different tune is coming from him. He wants to be above the law. Now, because there's so much that comes out every single day in regard to his legal troubles, I'll just slap on the end of this segment a random detail that came out. This is from CBS News in regard to a different one of his situations here. This is the Manhattan District Attorney case that he's actually been indicted out of. Prosecutors in former President Donald Trump's Manhattan criminal case have released to his attorneys a recording of Trump and a witness whose identity was not disclosed, according to a document the office made public Friday. In a section devoted to electronic evidence that will be turned over, a prosecutor from Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg's office indicated they have disclosed to the defense a recording of a conversation between defendant and a witness. So an actual recording of a conversation that's damning in some way could be a big part of the evidence that we weren't previously aware of, but very vague. We're not exactly sure what that is yet, and we should learn more in the future. Very interesting, and it's not looking good on multiple fronts for Trump legally. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to be a part of what makes this show possible, plus get access to the full video version of the show hours before all the clips are uploaded to the YouTube channel, plus get access to the exclusive members only bonus show on the weekends, you can do so by going to lukebeasleyshow.com/membership. That is lukebeasleyshow.com/membership, and there's a link in the description.